Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's an honour to wind up for the backbenchers in the debate. This evening. It's been a tremendously good debate, both good-natured, but also, I think, revealing in a constructive way some of the profound differences that have divided the country and the House in recent years. And of course, this bill represents the great unfinished business of Brexit, and it is indeed, in a sense, the fulfilment of the great promise of Brexit, which was to bring back control over our laws. And of course, there are two visions of Brexit among those of us who supported it. On one hand, those who believe in deregulation, in innovation, in free trade, not in the fantasy of slashing protections and regulations, but in cheap food, even in free movement, in the whole vision of John Bright in this House, the ancestor of my honourable friend, the member for Stone, who believed so much and passionately in free trade. And then on the other side, those of us who believe more in protection of domestic industry, in reducing migration, in workers' rights, more Disraeli than Bright. And in that tension, the tension of the Tory tribe, we have been battling in recent years about the fulfilment and the implementation of the Brexit dream. But the fact is, whichever side of that battle or that tension you're on, we believe that it should be this place, this Parliament, which sets the direction for our country and delivers the sort of country we want to be post our membership of the European Union. We should determine policy in these areas. That is why this bill is so good and so right. And I recognise that some honourable members, including parliamentarians in the other place, object to the process of the revocation of EU law that is being introduced through this bill, through the use of statutory instruments to revoke EU law. And I recognise and I respect the spirit of the amendments championed by Lord Hamilton in the other place, by the member for Walthamstow here. But as my honourable friend, the member for Harrogate and Knaresborough, just explained so well, these are profound questions about parliamentary process that are not appropriate for this bill and for this place. And although the spirit of their point and of those amendments might be valid, I don't think it's appropriate to tamper with the process through this bill. The fact is that the elected government is responsible for scheduling the bills which will be revoked or reformed. There will be that democratic oversight. Of course, unlike the process by which those bills were brought in to this place, my right honourable friend, member for Redruth and Camborne, made the case very clearly how this House had no opportunity to challenge EU law as it was introduced. So the laws came into Parliament via these sneaky means, rather like the rats coming up through the drains, but they will go out in the proper way, briskly and fairly. So I am very pleased that we're doing this. And crucially, of course, the profound change that is being given effect by this bill, which is to restore the supremacy of UK law. And also I honour the government for their efforts to get the process of extirpation, of revocation right, to remove the problem we have where there are two systems of law in operation in this country. We should have one system of law made in this place. Now, I approved of the sunset clause. I recognise and I agree with my right honourable friend, member for North East Somerset, and his points about the value of having the stimulus of a deadline. I recognise and I respect the points made by my right honourable learned neighbour from Swindon South about the danger of having sent the Light Brigade of valiant EU laws into the Valley of Death, that it would be dangerous to send in the Heavy Brigade after them. Nevertheless, I think we did have the right approach. There it is. I accept the government's argument, or the Secretary of State's argument, that Whitehall rather over-interpreted its instruction to find laws to retain. It found that it needed to retain them all. It must have worked very hard, Madam Deputy Speaker. They probably even came into the office to do that work. But happy to give way.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for giving way. He will know that there are other countries in the European Union who will be watching us very closely, countries who in the future themselves may want to leave the European Union, and how our ability to implement our own laws will be very, very instrumental for them as to whether they decide to join us in freedom.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for that intervention. I hope we can inspire the countries of Europe, as we have so often in our history. So what we've done is we've changed from a default assumption of removal of EU laws to a default assumption of retention. And I understand if I regret the rationale for that change. I also regret, and I actually don't understand, why this decision to change the basis of the law was made when the bill had passed its stages in this House and was in the House of Lords. It passed here with a big majority, the whole Conservative Party behind it. As the, I think it was the representative of the SNP opposite said, that it was rather like a handbrake turn in the House of Lords, and I agree with that and I regret it. But nevertheless, since then the government has engaged constructively with members, and particularly I want to pay tribute to my right honourable friend, the member for Stone, who's not in this place. I think every bill needs a member for Stone stage, and if that wasn't done through the European Scrutiny Committee, it was done behind the scenes, and it was very effective. I see my learned friend for South Swinton agreeing with me the value of that stage of legislation. Anyway, I respect the intention of the government, and I accept their assurances that they intend to revoke at scale. Because we do need to recognise that the schedule as it currently stands is very weak. And my honourable friend, member for Stone, said only 5 of the bills in the current schedule reflect significant laws, and he said he was watching Eurovision while doing that work. That must have been a very painful exercise. Gloriously awful. But of course Britain did very badly in Eurovision. I'm afraid Britain hasn't done brilliantly in this exercise either. I think it reflects poorly on Whitehall that we've only managed to identify these 5 bills, substantial bills for revocation. There is so much more that can be done, and whether you're a free trader, my honourable friend is back, or a protectionist, like some of us, more could be done. More could be done, and the obvious case, as I think that it was the various members have mentioned it. Go on, happy.
And said he was a protectionist. I think that might need a little bit of amplification. I don't think he means it in the traditional sense of the word. I'm genuinely intrigued.
Neighbour is trying to rescue me from some sort of political blunder, which I'm perfectly capable of making. I'm grateful to him for that. Well, I mean, this isn't the moment for that great debate. I mentioned earlier the tension in our philosophy between the free trading and the protectionist impulse. I want to look after our Wiltshire farmers, and I want to see the industry of this country rise again and to become a great exporting nation.
I wonder if it's fair to say that my honourable friend is the Lord George Bentinck of the modern era.
I'm very grateful to him, to my honourable friend, that are the Peel of our era. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, waste the patience of the House any longer. We need to. The point I was quickly going to make: whether you're a free trader or protectionist, surely you want to see VAT reform. That was the great Brexit freedom opportunity, and we should be doing that and using our new freedoms to do it. So we need more ambition. I recognise that the government intends to report every 6 months. I'm very pleased with the amendment tabled by my friend from Watford with the support of the government, and particularly I support the amendment in the name of the Secretary of State and my friend from Stone, amendment to Lord's Amendment 16, which will require the government to specify at every reporting stage the laws that are going to be reformed or revoked. And I support the case that he made for a proper process under some kind of czar or commander-in-chief, he put it, to oversee the process of identifying the laws for reform or revocation. We need to get a good process here, but we have the right bill with the right principles in it, and we can now fight out the proper vision for the future of our country. Thank you.
Minister.
Madam Speaker,